Today's video topic would actually be hilarious if it wasn't so sad and so alarming at the same time. These days, the residents of Pennsylvania can sleep a little more soundly at night because a potential agri-terrorism cell has been cracked down on and shut down. Agri-terrorism? You ask what that is? Well, I googled it and Wikipedia told me that agri-terrorism is a malicious act that directly threatens the food security of a nation. So what is this dark act of agri-terrorism, you ask? Well, it's simple. The Joseph T. Simpson Public Library was participating in a system that was placing the entire ecosystem of the state at risk. What were they doing? Very simple. They were running a seed library right there amongst their books on the shelves. And this dangerous system, this dangerous practice was being flaunted right there in front of all the young children. Well, if you're not sure what the seed library is, simple. It allows patrons to go into their library, check out, so to speak, some organic heirloom seeds, take them home, grow them in their garden, harvest the crop at the end of the season, and at the end of the season, after they've harvested their crop, say for instance you've gone into the library and you've booked out a dozen bean seeds, for instance. So what happens is, after you've harvested your beans at the end of the grow season, you take a dozen beans, you take them back to the library, and you check a dozen beans back into the system, which means that next year, in the next growing season, people will be able to have seeds available, and so forth. And so you build community, so you teach people about, especially children, about where their food comes from, how to grow good organic food, and such like. Apparently, this terrorist act of running a seed library is in direct contravention of something called the Seed Act of 2004. And this Seed Act effectively makes running a seed library illegal. Luckily for the Joseph T. Public Library, the Department of Agriculture decided that releasing a full SWAT team onto the librarians was maybe going to be a little bit excessive. So instead, they sent one high-ranking official and a full team of attorneys to explain to the librarians exactly how what they were doing to teach especially young people about growing organic food is an act of terrorism. And unpacking this threat of agri-terrorism even further, Commissioner Barbara Cross understands very clearly what this threat to America is. I mean, you just simply can't have gardeners across America going and running amok and planting their own food. That would be absolutely unthinkable. So what Barbara said was that this threat of agri-terrorism is very, very real, and that protecting and maintaining the food sources of America is an overwhelming challenge. So although you have agri-tourism on the one hand, you have this very, very real threat of agri-terrorism on the other. And furthermore, Ms. Cross stated that it is very important to crack down on these terrorism activities now, early, before this ludicrous idea of seed libraries spreads across the country and you have hundreds, if not thousands of people going out and growing their own organic food. So let's unpack this a little bit further and look at what is at heart of the problem of seed libraries. So, alright, in terms of what the Joseph P. Simpson Public Library was told, is that heirloom seed libraries are fine as long as the seeds are obtained through commercial distributors and no seeds from previous years are involved. Did you notice that I said there that heirloom seed libraries, they dropped the word organic out of it? So it seems to be that this organic title is what is at the heart of the problem, and I'll unpack that a little bit further with my opinions in just a short while. So you can have heirloom seed libraries as long as all the seeds obtained through commercial distributors and the library stocks no seeds from a previous year. So in other words, at the end of a season, any seeds that the library has not distributed need to be thrown away. And then at the beginning of the new season, the library may not take in seeds from the public, from people that have been growing their organic food. They have to go to a commercial distributor and buy a whole new range of seeds, which they can then distribute to their patrons. So, if I didn't know any better, I'd say that these state regulations regarding agri-terrorism were custom-tailored to criminalize, to make it a criminal act when you circumvent the corporate agribusiness monopoly that is controlling the entire food chain. But I'm sure this is all purely coincidental. I mean, at the moment, the main seed distributor in the United States, and for that matter across the planet, Monsanto, is sending out teams of people to hunt down organic farmers whose organic farms have been cross-pollinated and contaminated by GMO crops from neighboring farms. So you have your farm growing organic corn, your next door neighbor's farm is growing Monsanto genetically modified corn. The genetically modified corn cross-pollinates your organic crop, and suddenly the seeds that you harvest from your crop at the end of the year are now contain Monsanto patented gene, and maybe even the so-called terminator gene, which is designed to produce sterile offspring plants which make it impossible for farmers to be able to save seeds to grow next year because they simply won't grow. So Monsanto harassing farmers who are growing organic crops because these organic crops have been cross-pollinated, and therefore the farmer's stock of new seed for the new season contains Monsanto patented material. Well, that organic farmer is now all of a sudden guilty of stealing Monsanto patented products and using them without license. In other words, using them without paying Monsanto for the right to be able to plant their corn. It sounds almost like suing somebody that you've shot for stealing your bullets. And these days, Monsanto lawyers are also threatening organic greengrocers who label milk as being without recombinant bovine growth hormone. So you've got organic greengrocers getting organic milk and selling the organic milk labeled that it is free of bovine growth hormone, and those greengrocers are getting sued by Monsanto for labeling their milk as being growth hormone free. I mean, take this a step further, and you could have the next step being sending in SWAT teams to crack down on organic greengrocers selling raw milk. I mean, it can be ballooning into something absolutely ridiculous. So it seems to me what's at the heart of the matter here is that this agri-terrorism crackdown that we're seeing now happening in America is a specific crackdown against, number one, organic food growers, and number two, the sellers of organic produce. Because it is the growers and the sellers of organic produce that are circumventing companies like Monsanto. They're not buying Monsanto seed, they're not buying Monsanto pesticide, they are absolutely sidestepping Monsanto, and Monsanto being one of the major contributors to the Department of Agriculture activities, it stands to reason that the Department of Agriculture will be wanting to protect their cash cow. That's my take on it. Not hating, just saying. Please remember to click the little buttons below to like and share the video amongst your friends. Post your comments and questions down below, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you can be kept up to date on new videos as they happen on a weekly basis. Take care out there. See you next time. Cheers.